Hi, boys and girls. We're going to read the first part of chapter 9 today. If you're following along on the PDF, it is on page 112. Chapter 9. It was almost 6:30 when I got home. The rumble was set for 7, so I was late for supper. As usual, I always come in late. I forget what time it is. Darry had cooked dinner, baked chicken and potatoes and corn. 2 chickens because all 3 of us eat like horses, especially Darry. But although I loved baked chicken, I could hardly swallow any. I swallowed 5 aspirins, though, when Darry and Soda weren't looking. I do that all the time because I can't sleep very well at night. Darry thinks I just take one, but I usually take 4. I figured 5 would keep me going through the rumble and maybe get rid of my headache. Then I hurried to take a shower and change clothes. Me and Soda and Darry always got spruced up before a rumble. And besides, we wanted to show those socias we weren't trash, that we were just as good as they were. Soda, I called from the bathroom. When did you start shaving? When I was 15, he yelled back. When did Darry? When he was 13. Why? You figuring on growing a beard for the rumble? You're funny. We ought to send you in the Reader's Digest. I hear they pay a lot for funny things. Soda laughed and went right on playing poker with Steve in the living room. Darry had on a tight black t-shirt that showed every muscle on his chest and even the flat, hard muscles on his stomach. I'd hate to be the Soch who takes a crack out at him, I thought as I pulled on a clean t-shirt and fresh pair of jeans. I wish my t-shirt was tighter. I have a pretty good build for my size, but I lost a lot of weight in Windixville and it just didn't fit right. It was a chilly night and t-shirts weren't the warmest clothes in the world, but nobody ever gets cold in a rumble. And besides, jackets interfere with your swinging ability. Soda, Steve, and I had put on more hair oil than was necessary, but we wanted to show that we were greasers. Tonight we could be proud of it. Greasers may not have much, but they have a rep. That and long hair. What kind of world is it where all I have to be proud of is a reputation for being a hood and greasy hair? I don't want to be a hood, but even if I don't steal things and mug people and get boozed up, I've marked lousy. Why should I be part of it? Why should I even pretend to be part of it? Darry never went in for the long hair. His was short and clean all the time. I sat in the armchair in the living room, waiting for the rest of the outfit to show up. But of course, tonight the only one coming would be Two-Bit, Johnny. Johnny and Dallas wouldn't show. Soda and Steve were playing cards and arguing as usual. Soda was keeping up a steady stream of wisecracks and clowning, and Steve had turned up the radio so loud that it almost broke my eardrums. Of course, everybody listens to it loud like that, but it just wasn't the best thing for a headache. You like fights, don't you, Soda? I asked suddenly. Yeah, sure, he shrugged. I like fights. How come? I don't know. He looked at me puzzled. It's action. It's a contest, like a drag race or a dance or something. Shoot, says Steve. I want to beat those socials' heads in. When I get in a fight, I want to stomp the other guy good. I like it too. How come you like fights, Darry? I asked, looking at him as he stood behind me, leaning in the kitchen doorway. He gave me one of those looks that hid what he's thinking. But Soda piped up. He likes to show off his muscles. I'm going to show him off on you, little buddy, if you get any mouthier. I digested what Soda had said. It was the truth. Daria liked anything that took strength, like weightlifting or playing football or roofing houses, even if he was proud of being smart too. Daria never said anything about it, but I knew he liked fights. I felt out of things. I'll fight anyone anytime, but I don't like to. I don't know if you ought to be in this rumble, Pony, Daria said slowly. Oh no, I thought in mortal fear. I've got to be in it. Right then, the most important thing in my life was helping us whip the socias. Don't let him make me stay home now. I've got to be in it. How come? I've always come before, ain't I? Yeah, Dari said with a proud grin. You fight real good for a kid your size, but you were in shape before. You've lost weight and you don't look so great, kid. You're tensed up too much. Shoot, said Soda, trying to get the ace out of his shoe without Steve seeing him. We all get tensed up before a rumble. Let him fight tonight. Skin never hurt anybody. No weapons, no danger. I'll be okay, I pleaded. I'll get a hold of a little one, okay? Well, Johnny won't be there for this time. Johnny and I sometimes ganged up on one big guy, but then Curly Shepherd won't be either, or Daly, and we'll need every man we can get. What happened to Shepherd? I asked, remembering Tim Shepherd's kid brother Curly, who was a tough, cool, hard as nails Tim in miniature, and I had once played chicken by holding one cigarette end against each other's fingers. We had stood there, clenching our teeth and grimacing, with sweat pouring down our faces, the smell of burning flesh making us sick, each refusing to holler, until Tim happened to stroll by. When he saw what we were really burning holes in each other's, he cracked our heads together, swearing to kill us both if we ever pulled a stunt like that again. I still have the scar on my forefinger. Curly was an average downtown hood, tough and not real bright, but I liked him. He could take anything. He's in the cooler, Steve said, kicking the ace out of Soda's shoe, in the reformatory. Again, I thought, and said, let me fight, Dari. If it was blades or chains or something, it'd be different. Nobody ever gets really hurt in a skin rumble. Well, Dari gave in. I guess you can, but be careful, and if you get into a jam, holler and I'll get you out. I'll be okay, I said wearily. How come you never worry about Soda Pop so much? I don't see you lecturing him. Man, Dari grinned and put his arm across Soda's shoulders. This is one kid, brother, I don't have to worry about. Soda punched him in the ribs affectionately. This kiddo can use his head. Soda Pop looked down at me with mock superiority, but Dari went on. You can see he used it for one thing, to grow hair on. He ducked Soda's swing and took off for the door. Two-Bit stuck his head in the door just as Dari went flying out, leaping as he went off the steps. Dari turned a somersault in midair, hit the ground, and bounced up before Soda could catch him. Well, Two-Bit said cheerfully, cocking an eyebrow, I see we are in prime condition for Rumble. Is everybody happy? Yeah, screamed Soda as he, too, did a flying somersault off the steps. He flipped up to walk on his hands and then did a no-hands cartwheel across the yard to beat Dari's performance. The excitement was catching. Screeching like an Indian, Steve went running across the lawn in flying leaps. Stopped suddenly, and flipped backwards. We could all do acrobatics because Dari had taken a course at the Y and then spent a whole summer teaching us everything he learned on the grounds that it might come in handy in a fight. It did, but it also got Two-Bit and Soda jailed once. They were doing mid-air flips down a downtown sidewalk, walking on their hands and otherwise disturbing the public and the police. Leave it to those two to pull something like that. With a happy whoop, I did a no-hands cartwheel off the porch step, hit the ground, and rolled to my feet. Two-Bit followed me in a similar manner. I'm a greaser, Soda Pop chanted. I am a JD in a hood. I blacken the name of our fair city. I beat up people. I rob gas stations. I'm a menace to society. Man, do I have fun. Greaser, 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 Steve sing-song. Oh, victim of environment. Underprivileged, rotten, no-count hood. Juvenile delinquent, you're no good, Dari shouted. Get the hence white trash, Two-Bit said in a stylish voice. I am a Soch, I am the privileged and the well-dressed. I throw beer blasts, drive fancy cars, break windows at fancy parties. And what do you do for fun? I inquired in a serious, awed voice. I jump greasers, Two-Bit screamed, and did a cartwheel. We settled down as we walked to the lot. Two-Bit was the only one wearing a jacket. He had a couple of cans of beer stuffed in it. He always gets high before a rumble. Before anything else, too, come to think of it. I shook my head. I hate to see the day when I had to get my nerve from a can. I tried drinking once before. The stuff tasted awful. I got sick, had a headache, and when Dari found out, he grounded me for 2 weeks. But that was the last time I'd ever drank. I'd seen too much of what drinking did for you at Johnny's house. Hey, Two-Bit, I said, deciding to complete my survey. How come you like to fight? He looked at me as if I was off my nut. Shoot, everybody fights. If everybody jumped in the Arkansas River, old Two-Bit would be right on their heels. I had it then. Soda fought for fun, Steve for hatred, Dari for pride, and Two-Bit for conformity. Why do I fight, I thought, and couldn't think of any real good reason. There isn't any real good reason for fighting, except self-defense. Listen, Soda, you and Ponyboy, Dari said as we strode down the street. At the Fuzz show, you two beat it out of there. The rest of us can only get jailed. You two can get sent to a boys' home. Nobody in the neighborhood is going to call the Fuzz, Steve said grimly. They know what happened if they did. All the same, you two blows at the first sign of trouble. You hear me? You sure don't need an amplifier, Soda said, and stuck out his tongue to the back of Darry's head, and I stifled a giggle. If you want to see something funny, it's a tough hood sticking his tongue out at his big brother. Tim Shepard and company were already waiting when we arrived at the vacant lot, along with a gang from Brunley, one of the suburbs. Tim was a lean, cat-like 18-year-old who looked like the model JD you see in movies and magazines. He had the bright curly black hair, smoldering dark eyes, and a long scar from temple to chin, where a tramp had belted him with a broken pop bottle. He had a tough, hard look to him, and his nose had been broken twice. Like Daly's, his smile was grim and bitter. He was one of those who enjoyed being a hood. The rest of his bunch were the same way. The boys from Brunley, too, young hoods, who would grow up to be old hoods. I'd never thought about it before, but they just get worse as they get older, not better. I looked at Darry. He wasn't going to be any hood when he got older. He was going to get somewhere. Living the way we do would only make him more determined to get somewhere. That's why he's better than the rest of us, I thought. He's going somewhere, and I was going to be like him. I wasn't going to live in a lousy neighborhood all my life. Tim had the tense, hungry look of an alley cat. That's what he's always reminded me of, an alley cat. And he was constantly restless. His boys ranged from 15 to 19, hard-looking characters who were used to the strict discipline Tim gave out. That was the difference between his gang and ours. They had a leader and were organized. We were just buddies who stuck together. Each man was his own leader. Maybe that was why we could whip them. Tim, the leader of the Brunley outfit, moved forward to shake hands with each of us, proving that our gangs were on the same side in this fight. Although most of the guys in those two outfits were exactly what I'd like to call weren't exactly what I like to call my friends. When Tim got to me, he studied me, maybe remembering how his kid brother and I had played chicken. You and the quiet black-headed kid were the ones who killed the Soch? Yeah, I said, pretending to be proud of it. Then I thought of Cherry and Randy and got a sick feeling in my stomach. Good going, kid. Curly always said you were a good kid. Curly's in the reformatory for the next 6 months. Tim grinned ruefully, probably thinking of the rough-neck, hard-headed brother. He got caught breaking into a liquor store. He went on to call Curly every unprintable name under the sun. In Tim's way of thinking, terms of affection. I surveyed the scene with pride. I was the youngest one there. Even Curly, if he had been there, had turned 15, so he was older than me. I could tell Darry realized this too, and although he was proud, I also knew he was worried. Shoot, I thought, I'll fight so good this time he won't even worry about me. I'll show him that someone besides Soda Pop can use his head.